So, silly season's well underway, but pre-season begins to loom large on the horizon. It begs the question. I asked people for some topics on my Twitter account, and one came in from a person that if I'd had a bit of foresight, I'd have remembered their name, but I didn't. But you know who you are, and you're amazing. And the question is about whether anyone next season can break the top 7. Now, when I mentioned...
What is the top 7?
So the top 7 is the 7 teams that finished 1 to 7 last summer. Now, you seem to be treating this with scepticism, like it's not a thing. I can assure you, I've been assured by Ped and by Baz that the top 7 is very much a thing.
It sounds like they really want it to be a thing, but the majority of the footballing population is going to agree that it's not a thing. Is Yeah, that was a bit mad. I mean, it's great talent.
But true. But the point I'm kind of driving at is that if they've got that level of money, it means they're now shopping a different pool.
Do you not think they're just spending the Lukaku money before they've sold him?
Well, that will be the fear that I'm sure keeps a lot of them up at night. But no, I think the general feeling is that that's where Everton are at right now.
I do agree. If you're looking at what was the split between 7th and 8th was like 12, maybe 12, 13 points last year.
Well, like Stoke and West Brom both died a major death at the back end of the season. West Brom in particular went from, you know, wow, look at West Brom. I couldn't even, you know, at this point I couldn't even tell you where they finished, but they were shite at the end of the season in a nutshell. And then, but it's when you look beyond that, I think there's some potential candidates. But I think it would take a sensational summer's business or a real freak outlier, I think, for someone else to sneak into that spot.
No, because Everton have been slowly building towards it. I think the concept of breaking into that top 6, which is what Everton have been working towards for a long time, they've now made enough of a difference that they can be considered above 8 to 20, but they're still some way short. So, you know, I can understand this concept of a top 7. But it's not the top 7, it's top 6, and Everton are trying to break into it. And I can't really see anybody below Everton. Yeah. I look through it, no one's really in a position to really challenge that. There's nobody.
Well, there's the usual names you could throw, but you know, there's Southampton there, but you would back Southampton to be there or thereabouts because they keep changing managers and they keep selling players, and yet they maintain their position largely in the top half of the.
But Southampton have to make that transition in. There has to be a summer where they don't sell their players and they bring it on top.
But I don't think that's never going to.
Well, then they're never going to be there.
Yeah, but then I think they're there, aren't they? But then I guess there must be a fear that lies in the back of the brains there that Swansea looked like they were going to be able to do that, and all of a sudden there's a law of diminishing returns when you get new unproven managers and this policy of selling your best players and what have you. No one knows what Pellegrino's going to be like. I only remember him as a short-term stopgap centre-back solution for Liverpool back in 2006 was it? 2004, 2004. I think it wasn't. He's terrible.
As I said to you, I thought it was Pellegrini. So I had to do a double take.
We had a couple of over a few bevies on Friday night. Who was it? Was it the Liverpool guy or was it the City guy? But yeah, so Southampton, you would suspect will be there or thereabouts, but I don't know that they're ready to.
I think as a club in the background, they have a better foundation to build on and go towards. Where something like Crystal Palace, where things are really going up in the air. Yeah. You can look at all the newly promoted teams. They're newly promoted. They're years away from it. So technically, on paper, Stoke. But Stoke have had that outlay of buying exciting attacking players, and it worked for a period, and then it turned inwards, and now everyone's against Mark Hughes. So I don't know what they're doing next.
Well, I think Stoke. I wouldn't have had Stoke as a contender for that, and I apologise to Elliot from Bear Pit if he's watching, but I think he knows. But no, past that, I mean, again, like last season was an utter disaster for them, and obviously off the field concerns. But like West Ham, a year ago, another year earlier, you'd have been like, yeah, West Ham maybe you've got the ability to break in there. I think they're just signing Lanzini down to a long-term contract, which I think is a good bit of business. But they need to go out and get they need to go and buy players they can rely on. You know, they need to not rely on Andy Carroll anymore. They need to enjoy Andy Carroll for what he is.
They've had such a bad streak of strikers that they just need someone to be there for a few years to score 20 goals and stay.
It's still a big ask, though.
It is a big ask. I mean, they obviously say that scoring goals is the hardest thing, and United fans would agree with you what happened last season. But past Everton, obviously the money is trickling down so that everybody is rich to a degree now. It's just that obviously the top 6 elite just had that little bit more. But I can't see anybody apart from Southampton potentially breaking into that. But they've got to break a habit of a lifetime, or recent lifetime, and keep their players and invest on top of that, which is what Everton are trying to do this year. With maybe, if they manage to keep on to Lukaku and all this business, that's the real sign of intent.
No, I agree. I agree with that, because regardless of what money you're getting for Lukaku, and they'll get a massive fee for him as well. They should, because he's great. Everyone struggles when you sell you. Whether he's that, I say your best player, and again, there's probably Evertonians watching going, he's not our best player. The point I'm driving at is that in terms of return, it's very hard to fill that void. So there might be work for Everton to do to hold on to 7th as well. But I think you look at maybe a couple of outside shouts. Again, you mentioned it, Palace. It depends on what the Bear does, because the Allardyce walking away was a very weird situation.
Really surprised at that.
And then past that, you know, there was also, I think Newcastle fans were very, very optimistic. It looked like Rafa had a serious discussion with Mike Ashley about the budget, and Rafa mentioned like winning the league. I think, you know, which is what you should do. I think you
probably should talk about Newcastle, to be honest. I'll be honest, I've completely forgotten about them because they disappeared for a year. But Newcastle, they're a massive, massive club. And in Benitez, they've managed to somehow get a manager who decided to leave Real Madrid and stay in the Championship. And he's shown some serious loyalty to them. So if Mike Ashley can now not return that loyalty with investment, they're just going to go back down, and he's a bad businessman.
Yeah.
Which he probably is anyway. He's a great businessman, but he's just a bit of a dick.
Yeah.
But Newcastle, they're used to being in that top 7. They're used to being, well, we're talking a long time ago from when they had like Ferdinand, and they were actually a decent team. But I'd like to see Newcastle go back up there.
I genuinely, we spoke about this a few weeks ago, I genuinely believe that if Rafa's given the right resources, I think he'll cause waves next season, because I think you look at the managers, and I think there was that talk this time last year, it's the season of the super managers. Look at all the best managers in world football now in the Premier League. I class Rafa, and there's a lot of people who don't like Rafa and don't rate him for whatever reason, but what he's won puts him right up there, I think, with some of the best managers in the world. So in terms of that, if they can find the calibre of player to match the calibre of manager they've got, it wouldn't shock me to see Newcastle put a charge on it. I can imagine Rafa-led Newcastle having a scrap with Everton for a European place, and seeing the fume that could cause would be. I think
the issue with Newcastle is they've just come up from the Championship, so a lot of that squad is Championship quality players. So it won't be this year that they're pushing into the top 7. They're going to need Benitez to be there for 3 years, and to replenish that squad. And once they've done that, they'll be in a position to do it. But Leicester?
Craig shouts Leicester.
No,
I love the way
they've had their moment.
What? Remember Leicester? God, no, I don't think so. Under Shakespeare, I have a real feeling that's all gonna. Yeah, we've seen as good as that gets there. If any Leicester fans watching, please do let me know if you think that's really, really offensive. Let us know. But no, if there's anything we're glaringly overlooking, there's a very good chance that we will be. To be perfectly honest,
West Brom.
I was talking to someone who was talking about the West Brom thing, and apparently the depth of feeling around West Brom is not positive at the moment. Apparently no one wants to play for Tony Pulis.
Why?
No one good. So it'll be interesting to see what they do this one, because they.
I was really surprised that Fletcher left. To be honest, I don't know where that came from.
Yeah,
but that was a cracking.
Well, this is the thing. I had talked Rondon maybe on the way, and I don't know how you. This is the problem. What do you do when I think there's a ceiling to Tony Pulis football. I think if you want to finish 8th on, I think finishing 8th on this is fine. It's commendable to a certain degree. You know, it's damn sight better than battling for relegation, I think, every season. But how do you kick that?
That's the transition that Stoke tried to go through, and hit the brick wall quite quickly.
Yeah, outside of that, again, let us know if we're missing any absolutely glaring shots. Let us know in the comments below. But yeah, the ones for me is whether West Ham now, I think another season established in that stadium, they'll probably get a few of those issues probably resolved in terms of where fans are placed, which could help boost atmosphere a little bit, as long as they remember to put back all the West Ham stuff in the right place after its current athletics uses, and then what level Newcastle are shopping at in the window, and then as you say, Southampton, is Pellegrino a good enough manager to actually take them on a notch? What could Clement cause a surprise now that he's got the job properly at Swansea with a summer under his belt?
I think Everton have sort of laid the foundations for other clubs to follow. If they, as I said, they can continue it through this window. I think they'll sell Ross Barkley, but that's probably out of their own choice rather than the player wanting to leave. And I don't think they will hold on to Lukaku. But as long as they replace him and not just signing a £15 million Spanish striker in Sandro, however much he is, they need more than that.
No, he's very cheap, but yeah. They
need more than that. And I think every Everton fan would accept that. If you're going to spend 30 million on the keeper and 30 million on the midfielder, you can't then try and replace a 20-plus Premier League goal scorer with a cheap off-cut from Spain.
Yeah, I think
it might be quality. And
don't get me wrong. But I think Everton had one striker. I mean, I know they had a couple of other options as well available. I think they had Valencia, didn't they? Which, you know, but I regardless, if they sell Lukaku, they're definitely going to buy another striker. It's what you're getting. If they go and buy Batshuayi, I think that's probably a pretty decent set of business all told. But yeah, it will be interesting. I am desperately trying to find the person who... here we go. How big is the... Alex Christ Thomas.
First, I can't find your name. Now I'm going to pronounce your name wrong.
It'd be Alex Christ Hummus. How big is the gap between the top 7 and the 13 teams of the league, and how do the sides break into the top 7? Like I say, I think just to expand further on that one last point, it would take a big window, and I think it's just about a club, one of those clubs that we've mentioned, I think, has what you call like a perfect transfer window. By and large, every transfer window, a good success rate is like 50% of your transfers. 50% of your players work really well. That's a good window. Every now and again, you get the outliers where you just buy 5 players and they're all perfectly on it. If a Newcastle or a Southampton or 1 or 2 clubs around there had that, there's a guy who just scores loads of goals. You know what I mean? I think we could see someone break that top 7, but past that, for me anyway, it feels like we're going to see Everton going to get closer to the top 6 rather than other people necessarily getting closer to Everton from the other side.
I agree.
Excellent. Good to know we agree on something in life, Sam. Thanks very much for watching. Of course, subscribe to United People's TV by clicking the logo on the screen right there. If you want to watch more Social Club, if you haven't seen it, our transfer specials are now up. Over the last 3 weeks, I have talked to Barry from Toffee TV, Chris from Redmen TV, and of course Sam as well, about Liverpool, Everton and Manchester United transfers. Watch those videos, enjoy them, and check back here next week. Flav, talking Spurs, transfers. Be here or be weird. Cheers.